else is just so ready for 2026? Me? Just me? Because I am ready for a new year, for a breath of freshness, for new books. I am excited, which is why I am bringing my 26 for 26 reads to you, as well as my anticipated reads of the year. Should I do an intro? I hate doing intros. I'm so bad at them. Hi, my name is Brittany. Welcome to my channel if you are new. Welcome back if you just saw my 25 for 25 video. Hi, hello. I just wanted to make a quick little video that will actually hopefully see the internet. If you don't know what I'm talking about, my 25 for 25 book video. I looked over my 25 for 25 TBR, the first ever TBR that I ever made. I read 21 of the 25 and I was like, you know what? You can absolutely do this. You can absolutely make a TBR and stick to it. I don't know why you want to be down on yourself and just immediately count yourself out all of the time. And if you are the same as me, hear this, because you can do it too. Ew, I just felt like a self-help person or something. Where am I going? What am I even talking about at this point? After finishing my 25 for 25 and what I deem was a successful TBR, I was so excited to make a 26 for 26 yearly TBR. And then I debated, like, how far are we gonna let this go? Am I gonna be doing like a 30 for 30? Probably. If I still am reading and existing, I will probably be doing a 30 for 30, but that is so far in advance. That's so far from right now. And I'm tangenting again. I hate doing intros to videos so much. I'm like even bouncing in my seat right now. I've been talking for 4 minutes. Have I actually said anything? No, I don't think so. Okay, bottom line. I made a 25 for 25 TBR. I think I killed it. I'm going to make a 26 for 26 TBR. That is why we are here. Let's talk about the 26 reads that I want to read in 2026. Woo! Took us a minute, but we got there. Okay, number 1, Red Rising by Pierce Brown. Are you sick of hearing about Red Rising yet? I hope not, because I'm about to talk about it. I can't speak for other platforms because I'm not on other platforms, but if you are in the BookTube community, Red Rising is once again making its rounds throughout BookTube. And new people are discovering their like or love for science fiction, which is fun. A lot of people are obsessing over this series. And you know, when I see other people obsessing over things, I get curious, which is how I ended up reading Alchemized. Let's not talk about it, but just know what happened. So yeah, the girlies are reading The girls are reading Red Rising. I'm curious. I'm curious enough that I'm putting it on my 26 for 26. Will it get read? Well, hopefully. But it's probably not my highest priority, but it's there. The Night We Met by Abby Jimenez, of course. Abby Jimenez, Emily Henry, Runix, Carrie Lake. If they put out books, I'm reading them. I don't care. The Night We Met is Abby Jimenez's new book coming out. I hope you don't want synopses for these because I didn't think about doing that. They're all fantasy forward, essentially. If you're curious about the synopsis, look it up. I have been let down and disappointed in Abby's last 2 books, Say You'll Remember Me and Just for the Summer. I did not like them per se. Like they were there for me. And I know that The Night We Met is a continuation. I think it's labeled as Just for the Summer 2 or something. I could be wrong. I don't know. I'm gonna continue reading her books. I read the premise of this book and I think it sounds fun. It sounds like a good time. And it also sounds messy as all hell. Because if I'm remembering correctly, she falls for like her boyfriend's best friend. Absolutely insane. I need to know how that goes. So yeah. The third book on my 26 for 26 TBR is Stephen King's Salem's Lot. I don't want to call it my Stephen King journey because I'm not like reading them back to back to back, but I read my first Stephen King book last year. That was Carrie. And I liked enough, or even if I didn't like it enough, he is such a prolific author that I am intrigued by more of his work. And from what I know about Salem's Lot, which is very little, is vampires. That's all. That's all I know. That's really all it took for me to add this to my list. Just like Carrie, they said she had telekinetic powers. I was like, okay, let's go. Like, what are we waiting for? Pretty much the same with Salem's Lot. I plan on reading pretty much anything that he has that is supernatural, paranormal, esque. Once Upon a Broken Heart by Stephanie Garber. This is the spin-off series from Caraval, which was in my 2025 list last year. If you watched that video, I read the entire series, and while I wasn't a fan of Jax in Legendary and Finale, I'm curious enough that I'm going to read Once Upon a Broken Heart, especially since it appears that Once Upon a Broken Heart trilogy is everybody's favorite. Everybody loves that trilogy. Everybody loves Jax, and I didn't like Jax that much, but I am ready to give him a second try, a second chance. Yeah, Once Upon a Broken Heart trilogy. I also plan on finally diving into Carissa Broadbent's world with Daughter of No Worlds. I was originally gonna go for the, I think it's Crowns of Nyaxia series, but while they're not connected series, they are set in the same universe, and I see a lot of people suggesting to read the Daughter of No Worlds series first. I think it's the War of Lost Hearts. You don't have to read them, but I would rather be introduced to the universe in order. Like, I'm not gonna read the Artificial Devices. Artificial Devices? No. Dark. It feels like diving into Cassie Clare's Shadowhunters universe out of order. Like, I read them as they came out, so I'm going to read every other series as it comes out, and I believe you read Daughter of No Worlds first. Why are we going on a tangent? Again, people love her writing, people love these series, and I am excited to start them. Another series that is kind of polarizing, but you either love it or hate it from what I've gathered, is the Zodiac Academy series. Yeah, I added The Awakening to my TBR, which I think is the first thing that you read, even though there seems to be a prequel. I don't know. I'm thrown off because this used to be called the Supernatural Beast and Bullies series, and y'all are saying this is a bully romance? I am not a bully romance girl. I don't. I'm going in with an open mind though, as I try to approach most things. Yup. Everybody says like the first few books aren't that great and you have to push through them. Wild. That's so wild. If something's not good, why would I continue to read something that's not good to possibly get to something that's better? But we're gonna do it, apparently. I don't know. Zodiac Academy. That's gonna happen. I also have a friend who is reading them right now, and she keeps hitting me up like, have you started Zodiac Academy yet? And I'm like, girl, no. So that's gonna happen this year. Hopefully. Another series that I said in my 25 for 25 that I made a mistake of adding nothing but the first book in a series for the majority of my TBR. And you can bet your ass I did it again. There are 26 books on this list. There are probably 5 that are standalone. The other 21 of them are the first in the series because I hate myself, apparently. I'm a glutton for punishment, apparently. I digress. Spark of the Everflame by Penn Cole. I don't have much to say. I'm confused because I don't recall hearing a lot of people talk about this series, but also I keep randomly hearing people say the last one's coming out soon. I'm so excited. I'm like, were we talking about this before? Where was I? Did I erase it from my memory? I have no idea, but the covers look super freaking pretty. From what I gathered, people like them. The synopsis sounds interesting to me, so I added it to my TBR. I also added a monstrous size of a book. I'm kind of getting burnt out on reading 800-page books. I'm not gonna lie to you, but we're gonna do it anyways and add City of Gods and Monsters by Kayla Edwards to my TBR. I've seen people compare this to Crescent City, so I don't know if I'll finish the Crescent City series before I start that, or if, I don't know. We're gonna go into it with an open mind. I don't know if they're comparing it to Crescent City because that's the only urban fantasy that they've read, which is possible. I've read other urban fantasies though, so hopefully that's why. I don't know, but I added it to my list. I also added, again, Binding 13 and Magnolia Parks. If you saw my last video, you know that these were on my 25 for 25 list. And you would also know that these were my 2 failures. I had 4 failures. These were my 2 that I actually cared about. I was apprehensive. It seemed daunting. I was not mentally prepared to start those 2 series. Will I be this year? Who knows? I have a lot of series on this list that I am not prepared to start, which is half of the reason this list exists in the first place. Because if I'm not pushing myself to read the things that I actually want to read, what am I doing? I want to read all of these books. And yet, I'm like, well, let's look at this cute little book that I've never heard of before instead, because I know it won't hurt me. So yeah, so those were both re-added to my 26 for 26 list. Lady of Darkness by Melissa Rorick. She is another one like Carissa Broadbent that has 2 series out. They are not connected, but they are in the same universe from what I am understanding. And again, I went to add the other series before I found out that this series technically comes first. So I have added this series. I don't even know what this series is called. Is this the Legacy series or is the Legacy series the other one? What was this one called? I'll find out as I dive into that world, because Lady of Darkness is on my TBR. In Your Dreams by Sarah Adams. This is the last book, I think, I would assume, the last book in the When in Rome series, which are 4 interconnected standalones, as romance does. I am excited to see the last sister fall in love with the boy next door, essentially. I can't wait to see how that plays out. I've enjoyed reading the stories about this cute little family, and I can't wait to not only finish the series, to have a finished series under my belt, but these 2 seem like they were somewhat childhood friends. He is her older brother's best friend, and so they all grew up together, and he has had a crush and has been pining for her for years. So that'll be really fun, and I have a hold on that currently. I think I've got about a 3-week wait, so that will probably be my second book that I tackle from this list. Ooh, what's the first one? We haven't gotten there yet. There is one author, quite popular on BookTube. People love his writing, and I can't speak to that because I have never read his writing. And if you have an inkling on who I'm talking about, you would know it's Frederick Bachman. And that means that Beartown has been added to my TBR. I didn't have an interest in reading this series, or this trilogy, this book. It wasn't one high up on my list at any point, but people talk so lovingly about his writing, about his stories, about this book especially, and I want to understand. I want to see what people are so obsessed with, and again, I'm going into it with an open mind. I mean, it seems like it's a small town. They're obsessed with hockey. You know, small towns always have their sports that they're obsessed with. And I'm rewatching One Tree Hill right now, which is about basketball, but it's a small town obsessed with the sport. So like, I have good feelings about it. We'll find out. Next on my list is Blood Over Brighthaven by M.L. Wong. People talk about this book. My entire list is just people talk about this book, but like, how word of mouth, hello. People seem to have been genuinely touched by this book. It's appeared to have affected a lot of people who have read it, and some have even gone to say that it's changed how they view and think about things. And I think that is beautiful and awesome. And I also hope that I experience something similar. I think that would be really cool to get something like that out of a book. Not saying that I haven't before, but it's been a long time since I've read a book that has made me sit down and actually think about things for a minute. And I think it's past time that I read one. So Blood Over Brighthaven. I started looking at my list and I was like, we have some chonkers here. These are all big books, all first in a series. I don't have a lot of standalones. I don't have a lot of fun, goofy reads. And so I added Bride by Ali Hazelwood. I've read all of Ali Hazelwood books except for Bride and Mate, which is wild because Bride has been on my TBR ever since it was announced. I love paranormal and supernatural books. They are my favorite, pretty much my favorite books. And yet, I have not read Bride. So Ali Hazelwood, I love her writing. The fact that she put out the type of book that I would read and I haven't read it yet is kind of absurd. Probably because I do not like werewolves all that much. They're probably one of my least favorite supernatural creatures. Not saying that I don't love them. I read a lot of good werewolf books when I was like 18. I have not read a werewolf. I genuinely don't think I've read a book with, I mean, werewolves were featured in like, you know, Crescent City, Shadowhunters. They're featured in books, but I haven't read a book with a main character werewolf like this in well over a decade. Probably like 15 years. That's actually crazy. I don't know, but this is a book that y'all learned nodding exist from, so I guess I'm gonna experience that. The next one was kind of I decided to trick myself for some reason. I don't know why I felt like I needed this push, because I definitely didn't, but I added Throne of Nightmares by Carrie Maniscalco. Why this is a trick for me because I have not read Throne of Secrets yet. And I was like, let me put book 3 on there so I have to read book 2 so that I can read book 3. Why? Why? I'm gonna read them. I love her writing. I love her books. I love The Seven Princes. Wrath is still my number 1 man in this world. I'm super excited to get to the other princes. And when we met Sloth in Throne of the Fallen, I was like, oh, I'm gonna love him. He's gonna rival Wrath for me. I need to read his book, like, now. But I didn't think his book was gonna come out. I thought it would be last, because usually, like, when they do the seven princes of hell, usually everybody leaves Sloth to last for whatever reason. Probably because it's Sloth, which would make entire sense. Regardless, I thought I had time. I was like, we're gonna go through all the other princes before we get to hit. Carrie said absolutely not. Sloth is going to be the next one that you read. And I was like, oh, okay, so he was the one I was most excited for. I have to read Gluttony's before I get to his. And so I was like, well, to ensure that I read Sloth's story this year, I need to add that book. So I am forced to read this book to read that one. I don't know why I'm like this. I digress. Throne of Nightmares. And now we're back to, I need more standalones, because what the hell am I doing with all these series? And so I added Grave Matter by Karina Halley. I think it's Halley. Is this even a standalone? I think it's a standalone. Did they add another book? I think it's a standalone. Grave Matter. I don't have much to say about this. It got announced. I immediately added it to my TBR. People talked about it for like a second, and then they moved on with their lives. So I don't know if that is warning me that it's not the greatest, but I will find out for myself. The 18th book, yeah, we're only on 18. House of Sky and Breath by Sarah J. Maas. That one right there. Plan on reading the rest of the Crescent City series this year, because I'm making a Crescent City reading vlog for the first 3 books. I think there's a 4th book, right? There's 4 houses, so it makes sense for there to be a 4th book. And I feel like I saw somewhere that Sarah announced there was a 4th book. I don't know. Regardless, I'm reading these 3. From what I've seen, the 2nd book seems to be majority of people's favorite, and then the 3rd book is the one that nobody likes. The 3rd book's the one that I'm most excited for at this moment in time. I've only read the 1st book, but if the 3rd book is the one that involves like the Reapers and the Necromancers, I'm ready. This is just speculation though. I have no idea what that book's about. But I have the 2nd book added to my 26 for 26 TBR. This one, how do I even preface this? I wanted to add books that would help me get through finish series that I have currently started. The issue is, I don't know what I was doing. A lot of the series that I have started that only have 1 book left are series that I started when I was a teenager. I am in my 30s. I am not a teenager. And these were series that I loved. Morganville Vampires, I have 1 book left. House of Night, I have 1 book left. The Fever series, I have 1 book left. Why did I do that to myself? I can't just jump into that last book. It's been like 15 years since I read them. I digress. I added Kingdom of Shadow and Light by Karen Marie Moning. I still don't know how to say her last name. I feel so bad about that. This is the last book in the Fever series. The Fever series is the one that I read most recently. I only read that like 3 years ago, maybe 2 years ago. I don't know, but I loved that series. I loved the entirety of it. I didn't think it's set up weird. It's like the first 6 books follow Michaela and Barons, and then like 6 and 7 follow Danny. What was his name? Riordan? What was his name? Whoever her love interest was. And then like 9 went back to Michaela and Barons, and then 10 went back to Danny and them, and then 11, which is this book, ends the entire world. It goes back to Michaela, who was my favorite. I loved Michaela and Barons. This is the wrap up of the entire world, and there's just no fucking way on this planet that I'm not finishing it. I am going to finish a series. I loved this series. It's about Fae, set in Ireland, and not like the hot Fae that you see in like ACOTAR and Throne of Glass and stuff. These Fae are ruthless. They are everybody. Like, they do not care. They are like the unseelie type Fae. I love that series. I love that series so much. Number 20 on my 26 or 26 TBR is Slewfoot by Brom. I'm very intrigued. It kind of, the only thing it has going against it for me personally is that it is historical. It's set in like the witch trial era, and historicals are my least favorite thing to read. But it's witches. There's kind of a dark entity named Slewfoot, and I am set for that. I love that type of stuff. People love this book. From what I've seen, it's one of people's favorite horror novels. I think it's classified as horror. I can't wait. I cannot wait. And I'm holding on to it for like September or October. But like, I don't think I want to wait that long. I don't think I want to wait that long to meet Slewfoot, who is kind of, and this might be entirely wrong because this is just a preconceived notion for me, is giving me Nightmare vibes from One Dark Window. And I loved Nightmare. So I'm excited. Speaking of One Dark Window, my 21st book is The Night and the Moth by Rachel Gillig. The Night and the Moth and One Dark Window are not connected. Rachel Gillig wrote both of them. This is a duology, I believe, and the second book comes out this year, so I figured, why not? Also, there is a talking gargoyle. I love that. I love that. I am excited to read that. And if it's anything like The Nightmare, or if he's like a sassy little gargoyle, I'm excited. I think his name is Bartholomew, which is just iconic on every freaking level that it could be. I love that. So I'm excited to read that one. The next book on my list, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to find because it's being traditionally published and people said it's not available. So this one might cause this entire list to be an instant fail, but Fairy Tale by Veronica Lancet. This book is a tomb from what I've seen. Why is it so big? But it's a standalone, I think, from what I understand. It's a standalone. The way somebody was describing this, it was kind of giving Once Upon a Time vibes, but like dark, like the show Once Upon a Time. And I love that show for a few seasons. So I also love darker books. This could be it for me. If I can find it, if I can get a copy of it, because I don't know when it's going to be traditionally published. So I'm either going to read it or it's going to be an instant fail. We'll find out. Shadow and Bone by Leigh Bardugo. I think it's time that I dived into the Grishaverse. And people usually only talk about Six of Crows and Crooked Kingdom, but they aren't the first things that you can read if you want to read the Grishaverse. And me, if you haven't figured it out by now, wants to start at the beginning. So Shadow and Bone it is. I never watched a TV show. I added it to my list and that was as far as I got. But I don't watch new things. I just rewatch old things. Like Teen Wolf, this is like my 7th time. I'm going to continue watching it. I don't care. So Shadow and Bone. Okay, the next book that I added, I'm reading it right now. This was the first book that I decided to grab from this list and pretty much the first book of the year because the other 2 books that I'm reading, the first book that I read was a carryover from last year. And the other book that I'm reading is just like a little novella. So like this is my first book of the year and already I'm obsessed. The Right Move by Liz Tomforde. Tomforde. Guess what? It's been a year. I still don't know how to say her last name. I have yet to look it up. Why am I like this? The Right Move. I'm finally meeting Ryan Shea. And I understand why the girlies are obsessed with him. Why when people bring up the Mile High series, they're always like Ryan Shea. Because Ryan freaking Shea. I understand. I started this last night, realized I'm going to sit here for the next 10 hours and binge read the entire thing. And I didn't want that. I wanted to enjoy it. I wanted to sit with it and take it in. Because I don't want to read it too fast. I don't want it to be over. I love Ryan and Indy so much. I'm about 41% of the way through. And if it keeps going like this, it's going to be a 5-star. And if I start my year off with a 5-star, it's what I need because I've been really picky with my 5 stars lately. Okay, The Right Move, Liz Tomforde. The Book of Azrael by Amber Nicole. I don't know. Did y'all say this was a 7-book series? Is that what we decided? Is that what was said? Because girl, if we're not on book 6 right now, I'm gonna be upset if I end up liking this shit. I think there's only 4 out. I can't do this. Okay. I added this to my TBR because I just wanted to read it. I want to finally read this book. I want to finally dive into this series. I hope. Please don't let it be 7 books long. Please let me be thinking about something else. I don't think I am. The Book of Azrael. And lastly, I'm going to be reading my first Alex Astor book. And I'm going to be starting the Light Lark series. Y'all like it. It seems to be that you guys like it. You guys like her writing and I haven't been super steered wrong. Usually if the book community likes it, I don't hate it. It's usually up there for me. Usually if the book community likes something overwhelmingly, I like it too. I don't hate it. Oh my god, my toe. You know, last night I fell and busted my ass too. My balance must be going. Is this old age? Is this what happens when you're older? I don't like it. Light Lark is the last book on my 26 for 26 TBR. Woo, woo. I have good feelings. I have very good feelings because if I stop avoiding them, these will be the books that I pick up to read. Heyo. A part of me doesn't think that I'll be able to finish them all because they are the first book in a series, and me being a series reader, I'm going to sit there and read every book that's out before I move on to the next series. So I could have just set myself up for the biggest downfall, but that's okay. Because if I find series that I love, then it'll be worth it in the end. Lastly, I also thought this would be a good place to add my anticipated reads for the year. I only have like 6, so bear with me. You don't have to be here much longer. Actually, you don't have to be here at all. You can click out at any freaking time. February 12th, Throne of Nightmares by Carrie Maniscalco. We already talked about this. This is in my TBR. February 17th is Half City by Kate Golden. Not on my TBR, but her Sacred Stones trilogy, the first book of Dawn of Onyx, was one of my top reads in 24. I loved that book so much, but unfortunately for me, the series kind of, like, instead of usually they go like this one went like this for me. By the last book, I was just like, it's still good. I'm just, I'm over it, whatever. But I will be reading her next series. I believe this is urban fantasy, and I really like her writing, so I am excited to try it out because Cain Ravenwood was setting himself up to be one of my top book boyfriends. At the end of book 1, he was in my top book boyfriends. I still love that man, to be honest. So, Half City, Kate Golden. March 10th is How to Write a Love Story by Catherine Walsh. Now, I just discovered Catherine Walsh. I believe it was Carrie Can Read started talking about her for holiday romances. And while I typically don't go out of my way to read holiday romances because I don't usually like them, I don't care to read about winter. I hate winter. I have to experience it. I don't want to read about it. So I'm trying to change that mindset and romanticize winter to help me get through it before seasonal depression kicks my ass. So I read Catherine Walsh's holiday books and I ate them up. I loved them so much. I loved her writing, her dialogue, the wittiness and the banter between the characters. I was obsessed. So I saw that she has a new book coming out and it doesn't seem like a holiday romance. So I'm ready. I'm here to support you, girl. How to Write a Love Story, Catherine Walsh. Of course, we have The Night We Met by Abby Jimenez. This is in my 24 for... What year am I in? This is my 26 for 26 TBR. I have it wrote down as coming out on March 31st, but in the email that I got, because I signed up for her newsletter, it said March 24th. So I will double check that. But coming out on March 31st is Game On by Nevessa Allen. Pause. Lights Out was a surprising love for me. I didn't think I was going to go into that book liking it. That was my first stalker romance, pretty much one of my last stalker romances, I'm not going to lie, because I don't think that genre is for me. Or I didn't think that genre was for me until I read Lights Out and I was like, yeah, I love this. I love whatever's happening here. I love it. Give me more. Caught On. The second book came out. I gave that a 2.5. I did not like it really that much at all. It was nothing at all like Lights Out. And I thought I was gonna like Caught On way more because it was mafia. And I do love a good mafia book. But no. I don't know how to feel about the third one. I don't know if I'm gonna like it. I am gonna give it a try though. April 7th is supposedly the third book in the Wicked Games trilogy, or Wicked Games series by Kaylee Smith. I say supposedly because this book has already been pushed back once. It was supposed to come out at the end of last year at some point, and it was pushed back. And I haven't checked if anything new has been announced about it, but last I saw, April 7th was the predicted release date for it. And I hope so, because I'm super excited to read that book, and I really hope it's about one of the Silver siblings, because I loved the Silver siblings in Enchantra. I just need a book for all of them, to be honest. She can continue this on and just give me books for all of them. Especially Seven and Grave. I think, was it Grave? Coven. I really love the siblings. So I'm so excited for that. And I would have added that to my TBR, but I don't know if it's coming or not. May 5th is Our Perfect Storm by Carly Fortune. I actually just read my first Carly Fortune book, I think it was last year, in 25. And then I ended up reading, I think, like all of them except for one. All of her books except for one, because that one just doesn't seem interesting to me. And every time I start one of her books, I was like, oh, this is about to be a 5-star. This is about to be a 5-star. And then every summer after happened, and the trope in there pissed me off, and I didn't want anything to do with it. So I'm excited, but I'm apprehensive. I did love One Golden Summer. We'll see. And the only other book that I have on my anticipated reads, unfortunately, doesn't come out until November 10th, hopefully, if it doesn't get pushed back. But the third book in the Fae and Alchemy series by Callie Hart. I loved Quicksilver with every fiber of my being. I loved her with every fiber of my being. I did not love Brimstone with every fiber of my being. And that really breaks my heart. It doesn't have a name yet, but the third book in the Fae and Alchemy series is the last book on my anticipated reads. I will end this the same way I ended my 25 for 25 books vlog. If you liked this video, please like it. Let me know what's on your 26 or 20. I said the same thing in the last video. Tell me what you're excited for. What are your anticipated reads? Because I would love to add more to my anticipated reads. Comment and introduce yourself. I would love to meet some people. I would love to have a community to talk to about books. I do have a couple friends that like to read here and there, but they are not as deep in the trenches as I am. I read like 123 books last year. I need some people to discuss things with. So comment, introduce yourself. I would love to meet you. And I hope you have a great 2026. I hope we all have a fantastic year. I hope it's beautiful. I hope we accomplish many things and that the world doesn't burn to the ground any more than it already has. Bye.